Everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday, September 9th edition of StudentLoanJustice.org live stream. My name is Alan Collins. We are the oldest and largest and really the only true citizens group actually fighting for student loan justice. We've been around for 15 years now. We've been featured top story on 60 Minutes in the New York Times, Los Angeles Times, Boston Globe, NPR, PBS, Fox News, Vice News, Rolling Stone magazine, many other places. Suffice it to say, we live and breathe the student loan issue, and I am here to tell you that after many years of deliberation, it is a failed lending system. It's failed. Maybe you've had student loans for years or decades. It's a failed lending system now today as we speak. You know, according to the recently resigned head of the federal student loan program, Wayne Johnson, 80%, and this is before the coronavirus, 80% of all federal student loan borrowers were never going to be able to repay their loans. Now, we fought very moderately for simply the return of bankruptcy protections to these loans for 15 years, and Congress and the president failed to act. They grossly neglected this problem. And now, like it or not, the fact is, it's done. It's toast. Put a fork in this lending system. It's done. It's over the moon. Think of your own little saying, catchphrase to say. Make a meme about it because this sucker is done. Student loans are vanishing into a mist of illegitimacy as we speak. So we started a petition. Hopefully you've signed the petition. If not, go to change.org/cancel student loans, capital C, capital S, capital L. And you will see that our petition calling on the president to cancel student loans by executive order now has like 573,000 signatures. And I want to say thanks to everybody who pitched in on this most recent media blitz. Thanks also to Ethan Hetzler, I should say. I think he's in Colorado. He compiled a very handy email list of news tip desk emails for local television stations across the country. I'm very happy to report, just in the past 3 days, we have been interviewed for television news stories in, Baltimore, Columbus, Ohio, Jackson, Mississippi. And on that note, folks, if you live in or around Jackson, Mississippi, and you would like to be interviewed about your student loans, contact me ASAP. Send me an email, justice@studentloanjustice.org. These guys are on a real deadline here. So the piece in Columbus aired last night, and that was great. I'm not sure about the piece in Baltimore. I think we may still be waiting for that one. But, already we added a quick 5,000 or 6,000 or maybe even 7,000 signatures on our petition as a result of the Columbus, Ohio piece running. So these things are paying off, guys, and they're paying off really well. There's 2 months before the election, less than 2 months now, like 56 days. And people are going to start voting in like 42 days or something. So time is of the essence, folks. We've got a nice little spurt of momentum with these news stories, but please make it your part-time or maybe even full-time job from here until November 3rd to do everything you can to get more people to sign that petition. It is very important. We're at 570-something thousand signatures now. We could easily be up to 1 million. I've also got another announcement. If you live in the Washington, D.C. area and you would like to be sort of followed around for the day by a Norwegian film crew, not Norway, a group from Holland, from the Netherlands. They would like to sit with you on election day, in fact, during election night, and gauge your reaction to the presidential race. Now, obviously, the point here is student loans, and so gauging your reaction to the election on election night in Washington, D.C. is what this group wants to do. So if you have a terrible student loan situation and you would like to do this sort of up close and personal thing, you're going to have a camera crew following you around during the day, shooting B-roll and so on and so forth. And then you'll be sitting for, I don't know, probably a couple hours, 3 hours with a bunch of guys from the Netherlands. And I happen to know people from the Netherlands tend to be very gentle, nice, kind people. So you may well enjoy that. But again, this is if you live in or around the Washington, D.C. area. So, yeah, folks, things are going great right now, and we need to build on this momentum. If you're new to the group, welcome. Just to let you know, we are the only group fighting this battle. I know Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders before him and others have all manner of student loan cancellation plans that they would love for you to vote for them because of. But I am also here to tell you that every single one of those plans, I'm sorry to say this because we supported Bernie, Elizabeth, all those plans are nonsense. None of those plans will work. All of those plans are doomed to fail because all of those plans rely upon Congress to pass a law that raises a whole bunch of money that they would then take and use to pay for loan cancellation. First of all, certainly in this current coronavirus crisis, there's no way Congress is going to pass a law raising $1 or $2 trillion or almost any amount that would be used to pay the lenders to cancel loans. Just politically, it's just not going to happen. But even if it did happen, and this is the most important part, even if it did happen, well, two things. First thing, the Department of Education has proven time and time again that it has no desire or intentions of canceling any loans. We already have a number of loan cancellation plans in place, like the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program and the Income-Based Repayment Program. And I'm here to tell you that the Department of Education is doing everything it can to not cancel these loans. It's doing everything it can to disqualify the borrowers. And it's very good at doing that. For the Public Service Loan Forgiveness, program, for example, 99.2% of the people who worked at a nonprofit for 10 years had every reason to believe that their loans were going to be forgiven. 99.2% of those people were disqualified for one reason or the other. But the very last thing about all the other loan cancellation programs we're hearing about, folks, listen, inculcate this. Certainly for federal loans, all the loans that the government owns directly, that's 85% of all student loan debt. The taxpayer has already paid for these loans, already paid. When you went to college and you got student loans and those loans were made and the colleges took that money, very little of which you ever saw, maybe for food or whatever, but that was when the taxpayers paid for these loans. To say that they need to pay again to cancel your loans is nonsense. It is a trick. It's yet another scam. You know, this entire lending system is one huge 85% government scam. And this is just another example of the student loan swamp, is what I call it. It's what other people call it. Trying to get money. And when I say the swamp, yeah, I mean the Department of Education. But I also mean their partners, their financial partners like Navient and Nelnet and Great Lakes and Fed Loan Servicing and many other players that love nothing more than to suck taxpayer dollars out of the government. So that is completely unnecessary, folks, and here's why. The president has all the executive authority he needs, he or she needs, to compromise, to waive, to release, to cancel all federally owned student loans, all student loans that it owns directly. And as I said, that's 85% of all student loans. The president could do this tomorrow. President Trump could do this tonight. With the stroke of his pen, he could cancel these loans. Whoosh. Not one penny would be required to pay for these loans. In fact, no money would even change hands at all. No congressional approval, also, would be needed. The president could do this right now. He could wake up, watch some TV, and cancel 85% of all student loan debt in this country. And maybe the most important thing is that he could do this without adding one penny to the national debt. That is what our petition is calling for. It is the only way, the only viable way to cancel student loans. And interestingly, it is by far the cheapest way, the easiest way, the most expedient way, and I would say the best targeted way to not only cancel these loans, but stimulate the economy massively. Now, you may be sitting there, you've been freaking out about your student loans, like 80% of all student loan borrowers are doing right now. And you would love for the loans to go away, but yet even still you feel a little bit bad about the prospect of your loans being lifted. Well, here's the reality, folks. Number one, not only should you not feel bad, you should be helping us fight for this. Not because you're greedy, not because you're selfish, not because you want to shirk on your loans, but because this is a nationally threatening lending system. And by us doing nothing and allowing it to do what it does, you are only ensuring even worse, horrible, catastrophic treatment of tens or hundreds of millions of future Americans to follow in our footsteps. This lending system is a national disgrace. It is unconstitutional. It's got to go. Don't feel bad about that at all. This is not a bad borrower problem. This is a bad lending system. So when these loans are canceled, if you feel bad, I urge you strongly to take the money that you would have paid on your student loans and do something truly good and truly altruistic with it. If you feel bad, leave that up to you. But you've got to help us fight, because this is the right fight. We are on the correct, right, morally high-grounded side of this battle. Quite frankly, I think the founding fathers, who are completely on our side, are looking down and wondering, how did our citizens get so weak? How could they allow themselves to be conquered and enslaved by this tyrannical governmental debt? It's not what this country was based on. It's not what the founding fathers fought and died for. It's not what hundreds of thousands, in fact, millions of people, our ancestors, have fought and died for. This is not the freedom that they were fighting for. This lending system is done. It's toast. And no matter what our critics might say, there is nothing that they can say or do that will change that fact. 80% of all federal student loan borrowers, and this is before the coronavirus crisis, will never be able to repay their loans. And they shouldn't. You know, I've been saying for weeks now, if you ever pay another dollar back on your student loans, not only is that, in my opinion, unwise, I think it's unpatriotic. Do not feed this beast. By feeding it, you only embolden it and ensure that this vicious cruelty will be visited in a far stronger way on future generations. Don't do that. It's not good for you. It's not good for the country. It's not good for tens or even hundreds of millions of people to follow in our footsteps. And you know, I'm sorry to have to say that. We are not a revolutionary group. We're not even a radical group. I'm just telling you what the reality is. We're not against the government. The federal government has its purpose. But on the student loan issue, the federal government has completely bastardized its commitment, its duty to serve the people rather than the other way around. You know, I'm not sure who said it, but somebody said, one of the founders said, no, actually I do know, Thomas Jefferson. He said, when the people fear the government, that is tyranny. When the government fears the people, that is liberty. Well, right now, folks, we are living under tyranny. John Adams said there are two ways to conquer and enslave a peoples. One is by the sword, but the other is by debt. And we are living through this as we speak. Like it or not, we are the pioneers. You, me, the 16,000 people on this Facebook group, the nearly 600,000 people on our petition. We are not only the tip of the spear in this historically important constitutional battle, we are the spear. This group right here, we're not just the eye of the storm in this battle for our constitutional rights. We are the storm. So I don't want to put any pressure on you, but, you've got a little bit of a patriotic duty, if nothing else, to stand up and help us fight. Not only for yourself, but for the tens or hundreds of millions of people to follow in our footsteps. So right now, we've got some momentum going, guys. We've got, as I said, 40 something days, 48, I don't know. We've got very little time before the first people start casting their ballots. And this is now a presidential issue. Joe Biden has, first of all, Joe Biden's plan sucks. It's not trustworthy at all. He wants to cancel a portion of student loan debt in the same nonsense way that I just said. He is saying, at least on paper, that he is for the return of bankruptcy protection to student loans. That is not enough, but just him mouthing those words is enough to greatly sway the 44 million people in this country who are, like you and like me, who are losing sleep at night over their student loans. 44 million people is enough to elect a president outright. So right now, if the election were to be held tomorrow, comparing it to, say, in 2016, I think it's a pretty good bet that Joe Biden would win this on the student loan issue at all. On the student loan issue alone, I should say. 44 million people is nearly enough people to elect a president. And if even half of those people go and pull the lever for Joe Biden, even if he doesn't have a very trustworthy plan, people are desperate and they will vote for anything that kind of sounds halfway good on the student loan issue. I think Biden would win. I don't see how President Trump could win right now. So if you are a Republican and you like Trump, then I urge you in the most strongest terms to contact the White House. Go to whitehouse.gov/contact and tell him that if he wants the 44 million voters who are distressed on their student loans, then he had better do the right thing, acknowledge this failed lending system for what it is, and issue that executive order that I just talked about. I happen to know, folks, that people in the very highest tiers of the Trump administration, and also people in the very innermost circles of Joe Biden's campaign, are very well aware of our proposal. But they need to feel pressure, and that pressure has to come not from somebody else in this group with student loans, but from you. You can't sit back, treat this as entertainment, and just assume that somebody else out there is going to pull your weight for you. It doesn't work like that. You've got to be the change you want to see. We are all in this together, folks. We are all we've got. One person can make all the difference in this fight. It only takes one well-placed email, one well-constructed conversation, one piece of outreach, one piece of effort on your part, somebody else's part, to start a cascade of dominoes that ultimately results in the elimination of these loans. It's got to happen. This is a failed lending system. Nobody is paying right now on their student loans. And if you think that many or maybe even any people are going to start resume repaying their loans happily when this current crisis abates, that's not the reality. These loans have got to go. Now, this could have a good outcome, which is what I just said. The president does the right thing, cancels the loans, stimulates the economy, doesn't need any additional taxpayer money to do it, doesn't add anything to the national debt. Or it could have a very bad outcome where the student loan swamp digs in its heels, starts, suing people in court en masse, starts leaning and confiscating their real property, this could become a real Second Amendment thing. Could become sort of a dystopian police state situation. And by the way, believe it or not, people actually have already begun to be hauled out of their homes in arrest under the law of a no-knock warrant, believe it or not, because of their student loans. 5 years ago, in this little podunk federal district in Texas, federal marshals, a SWAT team, essentially rolled up on some guy's house and arrested him because he had defaulted on his student loans many years ago. They say it wasn't because of student loans. They say it was because he failed to appear for a hearing. But, they couldn't find his address when it came time to serve the summons. But suddenly, magically, they found his right address, his actual address, when it came time to make the arrest. And the last I checked, this little podunk southern district in outside of Houston, Texas, they had plans on arresting something like 1,500 additional people. So this could have a really bad outcome where you spend the rest of your life trapped under this predatory, vicious, inescapable debt. That would be the bad ending. The good ending is what I just said. It's a failed lending system, guys. It's toast. We're looking at a default rate of 80, 90, maybe even 100%. But we've got to fight. We can't just expect that our outcome, the good outcome, the one that stimulates the economy and makes everybody happy, instead of wrecking everybody and ruining everybody's lives, there is no guarantee that good solution will happen. It is only by our efforts that it will. So keep checking back here, folks. I would say on a daily basis. We are asking people to do very simple things every single day. We've got a huge muscle to flex. Potentially tens of millions of people. So getting our petition to grow right now is by far the most important thing we can do. We've got 600,000 people now. That's a great start. But when you sitting there, I'm looking at you stop sitting there expecting someone else to pull your weight and actually get your fingers dirty, particularly in the next couple months between now and November 3rd. That is where this problem gets solved and these loans go away. We can move on with our lives and do whatever it was that we had planned to do in the first place with our college degrees. And, we can retire this banner behind me. I would like nothing better than to do that. But it starts with you folks. So please check back. I would say on a daily basis, check the updates on our petition. Hang out in this group. And if you're not in this group, if you're on YouTube right now, come to our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/SLJ group. So do that. And let us get this problem solved by November 3rd, people. We can do it. I've never been more optimistic. I've never seen a light at the end of the tunnel the way I do right now. Now, we don't want this window of opportunity to close with another terrible election where we can't endorse either candidate. We want to be able to endorse both candidates because by November 3rd, the loans are canceled. That is a realistic possibility, folks, but it depends, I would say nearly completely, on how hard you and me and everybody else in this group right here fights to make that so. If nobody in this group fights, I'd say we have a 0% chance. If half the people in this group fight, like on a daily basis, even if it's only 5 or 10 minutes of your time every day, I'd say we got about a 50-50 of these loans being gone by November 3rd. If 100%, in other words, if everybody in our group and on the petition and on YouTube and Facebook, etc., put in 5, 10, 15 minutes a day to fight, I think there is very close to a 100% chance that these loans will be gone by November 3rd. I'm not kidding. So think about that. Think about if you were ever going to do anything to fight this battle. Maybe not for yourself, but if not for yourself, for the country, for the tens or hundreds of millions of people to follow in our footsteps, or the 44 million people walking around now. We all need you, and you need us. So, come on, guys. I would beg, I would plead if I thought it would make a difference, but just think about your own situation. It's going to take a little bit of work from you if you want to see these loans gone. This is the vehicle to do that. Don't waste your time with any other nonsense. Spend your time on this. This is where the real battle is being fought. So with that, I will bid you all a pleasant good night. I think Ed will be back tomorrow night. I will be back, of course, on Friday. Let's get this done, folks. Right now and for the next 2 days, if you can contact a news organization and get them to do a story, it could be national, it could be international, it could be local, it could be radio, it could be a magazine, it could be a newspaper, it could be a TV show, radio broadcast, Rush Limbaugh, Rachel Maddow. Make it happen. This petition is that important. Getting these loans gone for the good of the country is that important. So with that, I will wish you good luck, Godspeed, and God bless. Oh, and the very last thing I'll say, folks, please donate something at this time if you could. We survive only and totally on very modest donations from normal people like you. We don't require much. We typically will be struggling to literally keep the lights on 1, if not 2 or even 3 times per month. It's closer to 3 times a month we find ourselves in that position in the current coronavirus crisis. So please kick in if you can. Something, anything helps. studentloanjustice.org/support with capital S. Okay, folks. Fight.